The black void of space rippled like water. Something impossible was happening near the twin stars of Kepler 442. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as energy patterns danced through empty space. Admiral Kolthak stared at his command screens, aboard the massive warship Dominion's Wrath. His four eyes focused on readings that made no sense. The ship's computers were screaming warnings about spatial distortions that shouldn't exist. "What am I looking at?" Kolthak demanded. His voice carried the authority of 300 years of Vrex military tradition. The Admiral's scaled skin showed the deep blue coloring of a seasoned warrior. "Unknown, sir," replied his sensor officer. "The readings suggest something is folding space itself, but no known technology can do this. The Vrex Empire controlled 17 star systems through superior technology and overwhelming firepower. Their energy weapons could turn planets into molten rock. Their shields could stop anything the galaxy could throw at them. For 3 centuries, no enemy had posed a real threat. That was about to change. Space exploded in brilliant light. When the glow faded, a massive ship hung in the darkness where nothing had been moments before. The vessel was unlike anything in the Imperial databases. Angular and brutal, it looked like it was built for war. Strange markings covered its hull, and weapon systems jutted from every surface. Kolthak's fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and his flagship dreadnought. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But something about this unknown vessel made him uneasy. Captain Taemin stretched his shoulders as he stood on the bridge of Sol's Hammer. 6 months of faster-than-light travel had brought Earth's first deep space warship to what their telescopes had identified as an inhabited star system. The quantum fold drive had worked perfectly, folding space to cross impossible distances in an instant. "Navigation confirms our position," reported First Officer Dong Ho. "We've reached the target system successfully." Taemin nodded. At 35, he was young for a starship captain, but Earth's space program was new and promoted based on skill rather than age. His crew of 800 represented humanity's best and brightest, trained for this historic mission of exploration and first contact. "Sir," called out Commander Bora from the tactical station, "I'm reading multiple large vessels approaching our position. They appear to be military ships." "How many?" Taemin asked. 13 total. 12 smaller ships and 1 massive one. The big one is twice our size." Taemin felt his stomach drop. They had hoped to find intelligent life, but finding a military fleet wasn't exactly what Earth had planned for first contact. "Any response to our greeting signals?" Communications specialist Kyung-soo shook his head. "Nothing yet, sir. I'm broadcasting on all frequencies using every protocol we have." The alien ships moved with obvious military precision, forming a battle formation around Sol's Hammer. Whatever these beings were, they clearly saw the human ship as a potential threat. "Incoming transmission," Kyung-soo announced suddenly. "It's not in any language we know, but the computer is trying to translate." The main screen flickered to life, showing a terrifying alien face. 4 yellow eyes glared at them from a scaled blue head. When it spoke, the translation system produced broken English. "Unknown vessel. You enter Imperial space without permission. Surrender immediately or face destruction. This is Admiral Kolthak of the Vrex Empire." Taemin exchanged glances with his senior officers. They were clearly outgunned and surrounded. But surrendering Earth's first starship to hostile aliens wasn't an option. "Open a channel," Taemin ordered. The screen switched to show Taemin standing on his bridge. "Admiral Kolthak, I am Captain Taemin of the Earth Defense Force ship Sol's Hammer. We come in peace, seeking contact with other intelligent species. We mean no harm to your empire." Kolthak's expression didn't change. "Earth is unknown to us. Your ship appears from nowhere using impossible technology. You will surrender now or be destroyed." "I cannot surrender my ship or crew," Taemin replied firmly. "We are explorers, not invaders. Surely we can resolve this peacefully." The alien Admiral's laugh was a harsh sound. "Peaceful? You appear in our territory with a warship. Your vessel carries enough weapons to threaten a fleet. There will be no peace." The transmission ended abruptly. "Sir," Bora called out urgently. The alien ships are powering weapons and moving to attack positions. Engineering Chief Minho's voice came over the intercom. Captain, their energy readings are off the charts. These weapons are more powerful than anything we've seen before. Medical. Officer Jihai was already preparing the medical bay for casualties. Supply Officer Hei Wan ran final checks on their ammunition stores. Navigator Jin Wu calculated possible escape routes, though jumping to quantum fold this close to a star was extremely dangerous. All hands, battle stations, Taman announced, over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this possibility, though everyone had hoped it wouldn't be necessary. Earth's first meeting with alien life was about to become Earth's first space battle. Shields up, ordered Bora. Point defense systems online. Railgun batteries loaded and ready. Taman studied the tactical display. 13 alien ships against 1 human vessel. The odds were terrible, but Sol's hammer had some advantages. Earth's weapons technology had developed along different lines than these aliens seemed to expect. Sir, Kyung-soo reported, I'm picking up communications between their ships. The translation is rough, but they seem confident this will be easy. They're about to learn otherwise, Taimin said grimly. The first energy blast came from Kolthak's flagship. A beam of pure plasma energy, hot enough to melt steel, struck Sol's hammer's shields. The ship shook, but the experimental defensive systems held. Damage report, Taemin called out. Minimal damage to outer hull plating, Minho reported with surprise in his voice. Sir, their weapons operate on energy frequencies our shields were designed to handle. It's like they've never fought anyone with our type of technology, Taemin smiled grimly. Earth scientists had spent decades studying plasma physics and energy weapons. They had built defenses specifically designed to counter such attacks. These aliens, for all their size and power, might have a critical weakness. All ships, commence attack, Kolthak's voice could be heard over intercepted communications. 12. More energy beams lanced out from the Vrex fleet. Sol's hammer's shields flared as they absorbed the massive energy assault. But the human ship survived what should have been instant destruction. Their turn is over, Taemin said quietly. Bora, show them what Earth can do, weapons free. The real battle was about to begin. Sol's hammer erupted with deadly fire. The human warship's railgun batteries opened up, sending tungsten projectiles screaming through space at 15% of light speed. Each round carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. Admiral, Kolthak watched in confusion as the strange projectiles approached his fleet. The Vrex had fought many wars across the galaxy, but they had never seen weapons like these. Their energy shields, designed to deflect plasma beams and particle weapons, were useless against solid metal moving at such incredible speeds. The first railgun round punched through the heavy cruiser's stellar fang like it was made of paper. The tungsten projectile tore through 3 decks before exploding out the other side in a shower of metal fragments. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as critical systems failed. What happened to Stellar Fang? Kolthak demanded. Unknown. Weapon impact, sir, his tactical officer replied with panic in his voice. Their shields didn't stop it. The projectile went right through them. 2 more heavy cruisers suffered direct hits. Imperial Dawn lost its entire weapon array when a railgun round destroyed its primary power coupling. Void Striker began venting atmosphere as its hull was breached in multiple places. Commander Bora studied the battle display with professional satisfaction. Their shields are completely ineffective against kinetic weapons, she reported to Captain Taimin. It's like they've never faced projectile weapons before. Launch quantum torpedoes, Taimin ordered. 6 sleek missiles erupted from Sol's hammer's torpedo tubes. These weren't conventional explosives. Earth's scientists had developed quantum warheads that could phase through energy barriers by briefly existing in a parallel dimension before returning to normal space inside the target. The Virex point defense systems tried to intercept the incoming torpedoes, but their energy-based weapons couldn't lock onto targets that kept phasing in and out of normal space. All 6 torpedoes reached their targets. The explosions were devastating. Quantum warheads didn't just destroy, they converted matter directly into energy. Two heavy cruisers simply vanished in balls of brilliant light. Another lost its entire forward section and began spinning helplessly through space. Impossible, Kolthak whispered. In 3 centuries of warfare, the Vrex Empire had never lost 6 ships in a single engagement. This unknown vessel was systematically destroying his fleet with weapons that bypassed every defensive system they had. Sir, his communications officer called out, Captain Veltar is requesting permission to retreat. He says his weapons can't penetrate the enemy's defenses. Kolthak's scaled face twisted with rage. No retreat. All ships concentrate fire on the enemy vessel, overwhelm their shields with combined firepower. The remaining Vrex ships unleashed everything they had. Dozens of plasma beams and particle cannons focused on Sol's hammer. The human ship's shields flared brilliant white as they absorbed more energy than they were designed to handle. Shields at 60%, Engineering Chief Minho reported over the intercom. They're holding, but we can't take much more of this. Weapons specialist Wu Jin was already adapting their tactics. Sir, loading fragmenting rounds and railgun. Batteries. These should spread the damage across multiple targets. The next salvo from Sol's hammer was different. Instead of single massive projectiles, the railguns fired rounds designed to break apart just before impact. Each shot became dozens of smaller projectiles, creating shotgun-like spreads that damaged multiple ships at once. 3 more Vrex vessels took critical damage as the fragmenting rounds peppered their hulls. The aliens' formation began to break. Apart as ships tried to avoid the deadly projectile storms. Medical Officer Ji Hai was treating the first human casualties in her medical bay. 5 crew members had been injured when a plasma beam overloaded a shield generator, but they were all expected to recover. Compared to the losses the alien fleet was suffering, Sol's hammer was barely scratched. Captain, communications specialist, Kyung-soo called out excitedly. I'm intercepting their transmissions. The translation software is getting better at their language. What are they saying? Taemin asked. They're calling us kinetic devils and metal throwers. Some of their ship captains are requesting permission to withdraw. They've never seen weapons like ours. Dr. Su Jin, the mission's xenobiologist, was recording everything from her station. Captain, this is fascinating. Their entire military doctrine seems based on energy weapons. They've probably never encountered a species that used projectile weapons in space. That's their mistake, Bora said grimly as she targeted another enemy cruiser. Admiral Kolthak was facing the unthinkable. His superior fleet was being destroyed by a single enemy ship using primitive projectile weapons. Weapons that shouldn't work in space. Weapons that no civilized species would use. Weapons that made a mockery of Vrex technological superiority. Sir, his tactical officer reported with fear in his voice. We've lost 9 ships. 3 more are severely damaged and requesting permission to withdraw. The Empire does not retreat, Kolthak snarled. But doubt was creeping into his mind. If word of this defeat reached Imperial Command, his career would be over. Worse, it might encourage other species to rebel against Vrex rule. Sol's hammer continued its deadly dance through space. The human ship was smaller and more maneuverable than the massive Vrex vessels. Captain Taemin used this advantage, keeping his ship moving while his weapons systematically picked apart the enemy formation. Torpedo reload complete, reported Wu Jin. Ready to fire. Target their flagship, Taemin ordered. 6 more quantum. Torpedoes raced toward Dominion's Wrath. Admiral Kolthak watched them approach with growing horror. His ship's point defenses fired desperately, but the phasing torpedoes were impossible to intercept. The first torpedo struck the dreadnought's primary shield generator. The quantum explosion sent feedback through the entire defensive grid, causing cascade failures across multiple systems. The second torpedo hit the ship's main weapon array, silencing half of Kolthak's guns. Damage report, the Admiral demanded. Primary shields offline, main weapons reduced to 30% capacity. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Kolthak considered the unthinkable. Retreat. The humans had proven their weapons could damage even his flagship. If the battle continued, the entire fleet would be destroyed. All ships, he said quietly into his communicator, Withdraw to minimum safe distance. Maintain defensive formation but do not engage unless fired upon. The surviving Virex ships pulled back, leaving the battlefield littered with debris from their destroyed vessels. Sol's hammer held its position, weapons still trained on the alien fleet. They're withdrawing, Bora reported with surprise. Should we pursue? No, Taman decided. We've made our point. We're not here to conquer anyone. But the damage was done. In one short battle, a single human warship had shattered the myth of Rex invincibility. Admiral Kolthak stared at the human vessel on his screens, knowing that everything had changed. The Empire's greatest fear had become reality. An unknown threat had appeared from nowhere and proven that the Vrex could be defeated. Word of this battle would spread throughout the galaxy, and the Empire would never be the same. Captain Taman looked around his bridge at his tired but victorious crew. They had survived humanity's first space battle, but he suspected it wouldn't be their last. The aliens would be back, probably with more ships and better preparation. Set course for the outer system, he ordered. We need time to analyze what we've learned and repair our damage. As Sol's hammer moved away from the battlefield, both sides began preparing for what was sure to be a larger conflict. The war between Earth and the Vrex Empire had begun. Grand Admiral Vortex stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Dominion, studying tactical displays that showed the largest fleet the Vrex Empire had assembled in decades. 30 dreadnoughts, 50 heavy cruisers, and over 100 support vessels spread across space in perfect formation. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, we've lost contact with another patrol group in the Helix sector. That makes 15 destroyed units in 3 weeks. Vortex's scarred face showed no emotion. He had fought in every major campaign of the last century, earning his reputation through calculated brutality and tactical genius. But this enemy was unlike anything he had faced before. A single ship, he said quietly. One vessel is terrorizing an entire sector and making our navy look helpless. The Grand Admiral had studied every report from the previous encounters. The humans used primitive kinetic weapons that bypassed energy shields. Their ship was fast and maneuverable, striking without warning and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. They fight like pirates, observed Captain Zektal, Vortex's tactical advisor. Hit-and-run tactics with no honor. Effective tactics, Vortex corrected. They're using our own doctrine against us. We've grown used to fighting enemies who match our technology. These humans exploit weaknesses we didn't know we had. But the Grand Admiral had a plan. Intelligence suggested the human ship was most active near shipping lanes and patrol routes. If he could predict their next target and prepare a trap, even their superior maneuverability wouldn't save them. Deploy the merchant convoy Prosperity's Dream along the main shipping route, he ordered. Make it appear vulnerable, but position the entire fleet within jump range. When the humans attack, we'll be ready. Captain Taman studied the sensor readings from Sol's Hammer's bridge. The Vrex merchant convoy looked like an easy target. 6 cargo ships with minimal escort, carrying what appeared to be valuable supplies. It could be a trap. Commander, Bora warned. The convoy's position is almost too convenient. Possibly, Taman agreed. But we need those supplies. Our ammunition stores are running low, and the convoy might be carrying quantum crystals we can adapt for our torpedoes. Dr. Sujin had been working on ways to modify human technology using captured Vrex equipment. If we can get power crystals from their cargo ships, I might be able to increase our weapon efficiency by 30%. Sensors aren't detecting any large ships in the area, reported sensor operator Youngsik. The nearest Vrex patrol is at least 4 hours away. Taman made his decision. We take the convoy quickly and get out fast. Full stealth approach. Disable their escorts first, then board the cargo ships for supplies. Sol's hammer approached the convoy using advanced stealth systems that made it nearly invisible to Vrex sensors. The plan was simple. Quantum torpedoes to disable the escort ships, then boarding parties to grab what they needed before enemy reinforcements arrived. Torpedoes away, reported weapons specialist Wu Jin. The quantum warheads struck their targets perfectly, disabling the escort ship's engines and weapons without destroying them. Soul's hammer moved in to begin boarding operations. That's when space exploded with enemy contacts. Massive spatial distortions. Youngsik shouted. Multiple large ships jumping in. 30 dreadnoughts materialized around the convoy in perfect formation. The first Imperial fleet had been waiting in folded space, using technology Soul's hammer couldn't detect. The humans had flown directly into the most sophisticated trap in Vrek's military history. Well, Taemin said calmly. That's unfortunate. The Vrek's fleet opened fire immediately. Hundreds of plasma beams and particle cannons focused on the human ship from every direction. Soul's hammer's shields flared brilliant white as they absorbed more energy than any defensive system should be able to handle. Shields failing. Engineering. Chief Minho called out over the intercom. We can't take this much concentrated firepower. Commander Bora was already plotting escape routes, but the Vrek's formation was perfect. Every possible exit was covered by overlapping fields of fire. They were trapped in the center of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Emergency jump to Quantum Fold, Taemin ordered. Sir, jumping this close to so many ships is extremely dangerous, Navigator Jin Woo warned. The gravitational interference could tear us apart. Better than being vaporized by plasma fire, Taemin replied grimly. The Quantum Fold drive activated while Soul's hammer was still inside the enemy formation. Space twisted around the human ship as it briefly existed in parallel dimensions. When reality reasserted itself, Soul's hammer appeared directly behind Grand Admiral Vortex's flagship. Emergency weapons free, Taemin shouted. Everything we have. At point-blank range, Soul's hammer unleashed its full arsenal. Railgun batteries fired at maximum rate, while quantum torpedoes streaked toward the massive dreadnought. The flagship's shields, designed to stop attacks from normal distances, couldn't handle the concentrated firepower at such close range. Eternal Dominion shuddered as tungsten rounds punched through its armor plating. Quantum torpedoes phased through the ship's hull and exploded inside critical systems. The mighty dreadnought, flagship of the most powerful fleet in Vrek space, began breaking apart. Impossible, Grand Admiral Vortex whispered, as his bridge filled with smoke and sparks. No, ship can survive that kind of jump, but Soul's hammer was already moving, using the chaos to escape through the gap created by their flagship's destruction. The human ship's shields were down and its hull was damaged, but it was still functional. Pursuit course, Vortex ordered, as his crew fought to save their dying ship. Don't let them escape. 29 dreadnoughts gave chase, but Soul's hammer had one more advantage. Engineering Chief Minho had been modifying their quantum fold drive throughout their campaign. Learning from captured Vrek's technology, I can give you one more jump, he reported, but after that the drive will need major repairs. Do it, Taemin ordered. Soul's hammer vanished again, reappearing at the edge of the star system. The Vrek's fleet was still hours away, giving the humans time to assess the damage and make emergency repairs. Casualty report, Taemin requested. Medical Officer Ji Hai's voice was strained. 12 dead, 37 wounded. The quantum fold jump, while damaged, caused several systems to overload. It was their first major loss of life, and the bridge fell silent for a moment. These 12 crew members were the first humans to die in interstellar warfare, but they wouldn't be the last. Sir, Communications Specialist Kyung-soo called out, I'm intercepting massive communication traffic from the Vrek's fleet. Something about Devourer scouts detected in the outer rim. Doctor, Sujin looked up from her analysis station. I've been studying the databases we captured earlier. The Devourers appear to be some kind of galactic threat that drove the Vreks from their original territory. The Empire came here as refugees. Intelligence Officer Yoon Kyung had been working on the same problem. The data suggests these Devourers consume entire star systems. The Vreks conquered this region to build a defensive barrier against them. And now? Taemin asked. According to their long-range sensors, Devourer scout ships have been detected moving in this direction. The main swarm might not be far behind. Taemin stared at the tactical display showing the distant Vrek's fleet. The aliens weren't just conquerors seeking to expand their empire. They were refugees desperately trying to survive against a cosmic horror that consumed everything in its path. Sir, Youngsik reported urgently. I'm detecting a distress signal from a Virex research station. They're under attack by unknown contacts. The signal was weak, but clear. Virex civilians were dying while strange entities tore their station apart. The attackers didn't match any known ship configuration, and their energy signatures were unlike anything in the databases. It could be the Devourers, Dr. Sujin said quietly. Taemin faced an impossible choice. The Virex were his enemies, the aliens who had tried to destroy his ship and crew. But they were also the only thing standing between humanity and something far worse. Plot an intercept course, he ordered. Sir? First Officer Dong Ho asked in surprise. If these Devourers are as dangerous as the data suggests, then the Virex Empire might be the lesser evil. And if civilians are dying, we have a responsibility to help. As Sol's hammer changed course toward the distress signal, Captain Taemin wondered if he was making the right decision. But sometimes, choosing your enemies meant choosing which battles you could actually win. The war was about to become much more complicated. The Virex research station Wisdom's Edge was dying. Massive creatures the size of battleships tore through its outer hull with claws that seemed to be made of living metal. These weren't ships in any conventional sense, but organic entities that fed on matter and energy itself. Captain Taemin watched the horror unfold on Sol's hammer's main screen. The attacking creatures moved like living things, flowing around the station's defenses and consuming everything they touched. Escape pods fled in all directions, but many were caught and absorbed by the nightmare entities. Sir, Dr. Sujin said with barely controlled fear in her voice, those things are actually eating the station, converting matter directly into energy to fuel their own growth. The Devourers, Intelligence Officer Yun Kyung confirmed. This matches the fragmentary records we found in the Virex databases. Commander Bora studied the tactical situation. I count 6 of those creatures. Each one is roughly the size of a heavy cruiser, but they're not using any technology we can recognize. No shields, no energy weapons, just those claws and some kind of energy drain ability. Taemin made his decision. Battle stations. We're going in. Sir, First Officer Dong Ho protested. These are the same aliens who tried to destroy us. Why are we risking our lives to save them? Because those things down there represent something much worse than the Virex Empire, Taemin replied. If the Devourers consume this entire region of space, they'll eventually find Earth. Sol's hammer accelerated toward the battle. The human ship's railgun batteries opened fire as soon as they came into range, sending tungsten rounds screaming toward the nearest Devourer creature. The projectiles struck the creature's hide and bounced off harmlessly. The entity's skin seemed to absorb kinetic energy just as easily as it consumed matter. Kinetic weapons ineffective, Bora reported with shock. The creatures are adapting to our attacks. Try quantum torpedoes, Taemin ordered. 6 quantum warheads phased through space and exploded inside the creature's body. This time the effect was dramatic. The Devourer convulsed as quantum energy disrupted its cellular structure. Parts of its body began dissolving as it lost cohesion. Quantum weapons are effective, weapons specialist Wu Jin reported, but we only have 18 torpedoes left. The other Devourer creatures turned their attention to Sol's hammer. They moved through space without any visible propulsion, simply willing themselves toward the human ship with terrifying speed. Evasive. Maneuvers, Taemin ordered. Sol's hammer's superior maneuverability kept it ahead of the creatures, but barely. One Devourer came close enough to extend energy tendrils that drained power from the ship's outer hull. Hull breach on Deck 12, Engineering Chief Minho reported. Whatever those things did, it drained all the energy from our armor plating. The metal just stopped being metal. The battle was going badly when Grand Admiral Vortex's fleet arrived. 29 dreadnoughts dropped out of Quantum Fold and immediately opened fire on the Devourer creatures. Plasma beams and particle cannons struck the entities, causing some damage but not enough to stop them. Human vessel, came a transmission from Vortex's damaged flagship. Why do you aid us? Communications specialist Kyung-soo looked to Taemin for instructions. Open a channel, the captain ordered. Grand Admiral Vortex, Taemin said. These creatures threaten all intelligent life. Our conflict is meaningless if they consume everything. On the screen, the scarred Vrex admiral studied the human captain with new understanding. Your quantum weapons damage them. Our energy weapons are less effective. Then we work together, Taemin proposed. Your ships draw their attention while we target them with quantum torpedoes. It was an insane plan. Two fleets that had been trying to destroy each other now had to coordinate against an enemy that neither could defeat alone. But Grand Admiral Vortex was a professional soldier who understood tactics. Agreed, he said simply. All Vrex ships, Formation 7-7, provide covering fire for the human vessel. The next few minutes were the strangest battle in galactic history. Vrex dreadnoughts and the human warship Sol's Hammer fought side by side against cosmic horrors that threatened both their species. Torpedo. Away, Wu Jin reported as another quantum warhead found its target. The combined tactics worked. Vrex energy weapons kept the Devourers distracted, while Sol's Hammer's quantum torpedoes did the real damage. One by one, the creatures dissolved as their cellular structure collapsed. When the last Devourer died, both fleets held their positions warily. The immediate threat was over, but the larger conflict remained unresolved. Captain Taemin, Grandy. Admiral Vortex said over the open channel, I request permission to come aboard your vessel. We need to discuss this threat. Dr. Heirin, Sol's Hammer's linguist, worked frantically to establish better translation protocols. An hour later, Grand Admiral Vortex and a small diplomatic party transported aboard the human ship. The Vrex Admiral was impressive in person, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in blue scales marked by battle scars, with 4 eyes that missed nothing. But when he spoke to Captain Taemin in the ship's conference room, his tone was respectful. Your species uses kinetic weapons because you developed differently than the rest of the galaxy, Vortex observed. Energy weapons are more efficient for most purposes, but quantum torpedoes affect the Devourers in ways our weapons cannot. Doctor, Sujin had been analyzing the battle data. The creatures seem to absorb and redirect energy attacks, but quantum weapons destabilize their cellular structure at a fundamental level. It's not something they can adapt to easily. How many more of these Devourers are coming? Taemin asked. Grand Admiral Vortex's expression darkened. Our long-range sensors detect a swarm approaching this region. Thousands of them, maybe more. They consumed our original home systems and have been expanding ever since. Intelligence Officer Yun Kyung had been studying the Vrex star charts. According to your data, they'll reach the outer edge of your empire in less than 2 years, which is why we need an alliance, Vortex said bluntly. Your quantum weapons and our energy technology combined might be enough to stop them. What about the species you've conquered? Taemin asked. Will you free them to fight alongside us? The Grand Admiral considered this. The Empire's survival depends on unity, but perhaps some arrangements can be made, autonomous systems in exchange for military service. Over the following days, representatives from both species worked to establish a framework for cooperation. It wasn't easy. Many Vrex commanders refused to ally with the primitive kinetics users who had humiliated their fleets. On Earth, politicians debated whether humanity should commit to a galactic war they weren't prepared for, but the Devourer threat was real and growing. Long-range sensors confirmed massive swarms moving through space, consuming everything in their path. If they reached inhabited systems, billions would die. Chief Strategy Officer Sun Ho worked with Vrex tacticians to develop new combat doctrines. Human kinetic weapons combined with Vrex energy shields and faster-than-light technology created devastating combined strike capabilities. The key is coordination, Sun Ho explained during a joint briefing. Vrex ships provide long-range fire, support and energy shields while human vessels deliver quantum torpedo strikes. Neither fleet can defeat the Devourers alone, but together we might have a chance. The first joint exercises were awkward, but promising. Human accuracy and Vrex firepower created combinations that neither side had imagined possible. Quantum torpedoes, launched from Vrex ships, could reach targets at much greater ranges than Sol's Hammer could manage alone. It's working, Commander Bora reported after a successful training mission. Their targeting systems are more advanced than ours, but our weapons are more effective against Devourer biology. The Alliance faced its first real test when advanced Devourer scouts entered the outer system. A combined human-Vrex task force intercepted them before they could reach inhabited worlds. Captain Taman found himself commanding not just Souls, Hammer, but coordinating with 12 Vrex warships in the first official joint operation. The battle was intense but decisive. Combined tactics proved their worth as the scout force was completely destroyed. Admiral Taman, Grand Admiral Vortex said afterward, using the human's new rank, "Your species has given us hope. For the first time since the Devourers appeared, we believe we can actually win this war." As Sol's Hammer returned to the Joint Fleet Base, Taman reflected on how much had changed. Humanity's first contact with alien life had led to war, but that war had evolved into an alliance against a greater threat. The real battle was still to come. The main Devourer swarm was approaching, and when it arrived, it would test both species to their limits. But for the first time since leaving Earth, Captain Taman felt genuinely optimistic about humanity's future among the stars. They had found their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as the unexpected allies who arrived just when hope seemed lost. The Empire's greatest fear had become their greatest asset in the fight for survival. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity would face it alongside former enemies who had become essential friends. Emperor Thaxel's throne room fell silent as Admiral Kolthak finished his report. The massive Vrex ruler's four eyes burned with rage as he processed the impossible news. A single unknown vessel had destroyed 9 Imperial ships and damaged his most experienced admiral's flagship. "You're telling me," the Emperor said slowly, "that one ship defeated the entire Fourth Fleet using primitive projectile weapons?" "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty," Kolthak replied, his voice barely steady. "Their kinetic weapons bypassed our shields completely. Our energy-based defenses were useless against solid projectiles." The Emperor's claws scraped against his throne's armrests. For 300 years, the Virex Empire had dominated this region of space through technological superiority. No species had ever challenged their military might and survived. "Where did these humans come from?" Thaxel demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appeared using some form of space-folding technology we've never seen before. They claim to be from a world called Earth, but it's not in any of our star charts." General Morgak, the Empire's supreme military commander, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this could be an isolated incident. One advanced ship doesn't necessarily mean their entire species poses a threat. One ship that destroyed 9 of ours," the Emperor snapped. "I want this threat eliminated immediately. Deploy the First Imperial Fleet under Grand Admiral Vortex. Find these humans and destroy them before word of our defeat spreads." Meanwhile, in the outer reaches of the Kepler 442 system, Captain Taman faced his own difficult decisions. Sol's Hammer drifted in the shadow of a gas giant's moon, while his crew made repairs and analyzed the battle data. "Status report," Taman requested during the daily briefing. Supply Officer Haywan looked worried. "We've used 30% of our railgun ammunition and half our quantum torpedoes. If we face another fleet that size, we'll run out of weapons." Navigator Jin Wu added, "We're also 8 months from Earth using the quantum fold drive. Even if we left now, reinforcements couldn't reach us for over a year." "Sir," Engineering Chief Minho said, "I've been studying the alien technology we recovered from the wreckage. Their energy systems are incredibly advanced, but they seem to have never developed kinetic defenses. It's like the entire galaxy uses energy weapons." Dr. Sujin had been analyzing biological samples from the destroyed ships. The Virex appear to be a warrior species with a highly organized military structure. Based on their communications, they control multiple star systems, and consider this their territory. Taman stood and walked to the view screen showing the alien gas giant. "We have 2 choices. We can try to return to Earth and report what we've found, or we can continue our mission and learn more about these aliens and their empire." First, Officer Dong Ho spoke for the crew. "Sir, we voted on this already. We're explorers. Running home at the first sign of trouble isn't what we came here to do. Even knowing we might not make it back, especially knowing that," Commander Bo-Ra added, "Earth needs to know what's out here. If these Vrex are hostile to other species, humanity needs to be prepared." Taman nodded. They would stay and learn everything they could about this galactic empire. But they wouldn't just hide and observe. Sol's hammer would actively hunt enemy patrols, gathering intelligence while preventing the wrecks from organizing. A massive response. We become ghosts, Taman decided. We hit their patrols, gather intelligence, and disappear before they can respond. Every engagement teaches us more about their weaknesses. The hunting began 3 days later. Sol's hammer detected a Vrex patrol consisting of 2 heavy cruisers investigating the battlefield, where the 4th Fleet had been defeated. The human ship approached using passive sensors to avoid detection. 2 ships, same class as before, Bora reported. They're scanning the debris field. Wait until they're separated, Taman ordered. We take them one at a time. When the Vrex ship split up to cover more area, Sol's hammer struck. Quantum torpedoes disabled the first cruiser's engines while railgun fire crippled its weapons. The second ship tried to flee, but human technology proved superior in speed as well as firepower. Communications specialist Kyung-soo intercepted the distress signals. They're calling for help, but the nearest Vrex ships are hours away. By the time reinforcements arrive, we'll be long gone. Dr. Soo-jin's team recovered more alien technology and biological samples. Each battle provided new insights into Vrex capabilities and weaknesses. The aliens were individually stronger and more resilient than humans, but their technology was specialized for energy warfare. Their computers use quantum processing similar to ours, reported Science Officer Young-sik after analyzing captured equipment. I'm learning to read their databases. Sir, you need to see this. The data was disturbing. The Vrex Empire controlled 17 star systems and dozens of intelligent species. Most had been conquered and forced into slavery or submission. Those who resisted were simply exterminated. They're not just militaristic, Dr. Soo-jin observed. They're genuinely expansionist. They believe other species exist only to serve the Empire or be destroyed. But there were more troubling discoveries. Intelligence Officer Yoon Kyung found references to something called the Devourers in captured databases. The Vrex seemed genuinely terrified of these entities, though the records were incomplete. What little I can translate suggests the Vrex fled from their original territory because of these Devourers, she reported. They came to this region as refugees and conquered it to build some kind of defensive barrier. Over the following weeks, Sol's hammer continued its campaign. They struck supply convoys, destroyed patrol groups, and captured intelligence from isolated outposts. Each victory sent shockwaves through the Vrex Empire. Weapons specialist Wu Jin developed new tactics specifically for fighting larger fleets. Fragmenting railgun rounds could damage multiple targets simultaneously. Quantum torpedoes were modified to create chain reactions that could disable entire formations. The key is their formation fighting, Bo-Ra explained during a tactical briefing. They coordinate their ships like a single massive weapon, but if we can break their formation, their individual ships become vulnerable. The psychological impact on the Vrex was enormous. Patrol groups began refusing orders to investigate distress signals. Some outer colonies declared independence, believing the Empire could no longer protect them. The myth of Vrex invincibility was crumbling. Emperor Thaxel's response was predictable. The first Imperial fleet, consisting of 30 dreadnoughts and over 200 support vessels, was dispatched under Grand Admiral Vortex to hunt down the human ship. Intelligence suggests they're bringing everything they have, Kyung-soo reported after intercepting long-range communications. This Grand Admiral Vortex is their most experienced commander. Good, Taman said grimly. It's time these aliens learned that humanity won't be intimidated by superior numbers. But privately, he wondered if they had pushed too far. 30. Dreadnoughts was a force capable of destroying entire star systems. Sol's hammer was fast and deadly, but even human technology had limits. Sir, Young-sik called out urgently from his sensor station. I'm reading massive space distortions. Multiple large ships are jumping into the system. The hunt was about to become a battle for survival. The Vrex Empire's most powerful fleet was coming for them, and there was nowhere left to run. Time in. looked around his bridge at the crew who had followed him into the unknown. They had proven that humans could fight in the vast darkness between stars. Now they would discover if they could survive when the enemy brought everything they had. The real war was about to begin.